Hello, welcome back. Yes, I know I'm a bit late. Spoilers ahead for episode 2. If you want to watch the episode 1 video, then that was released yesterday. Right, let's get on with this one. The first episode was definitely not a shower, and I would say that in this episode it grows a lot more splendidly. A lot of the pointless scenes have been done away with, and it doesn't seem quite as hollow this time around. We have 4 distinct locations that we are in for the entire hour. Galadriel is out swimming laps in the sea. Arondir and Bronwyn are discovering the tunnels beneath their villages. Nori and Poppy are taking care of the mystery meteor man. And then we get to go to Khazad Dum with Elrond. This was much easier to follow. Was it just because in the first episode, half of the brain was trying to piece together the story, and so the location and time jumps kind of fried the other half? I'll begin with the Harfoots and the Meteor Man. I'll readily admit that the Harfoots are what I was least looking forward to in this entire series, really. But the duo of Poppy and Nori are delightful. The whole your mam's going to kill you and the concern for the borrowed wheelbarrow racing downhill with the giant in it. And, just the off the cuff remark of I don't speak Firefly. There's probably a few other instances, but they aren't so frequent that it becomes like 100% slapstick, but it provides comic relief against the somewhat hard to understand communication between Nori and the weird bloke. And he is an odd one to place. He seems to understand what Nori is saying, but then he can't speak and reacts like a teenage boy when the girl that he likes touches his arm. So where is he from and what is he? When he was scribbling on the rock, it looked like star constellations. This is something that he looks to maybe emulate with the fireflies at the end of the episode. But despite this innocence, there's definitely something a little bit sinister about him. Something's like a little bit off. Just the way that he eats is so rough. Like he consumed those snails and then he does the same with the fireflies at the end. Now, coupled with his weird mumblings, I gathered Manna and Ure, and I was looking on the website elfdict.com. It has a bunch of Tolkien languages on there as a dictionary, and I gathered that Manna meant blessed, holy, unmarred, free from evil, morally good. So, and then Ure, on the other hand, that was a Quenya word, an earlier form for heat or the sun, and this would later be replaced by Anar. So he's rattling off about the sun, which in Middle-earth was originally the celestial light meant to counter the darkness of Morgoth, and therefore aiding the peoples of Middle-earth. So he has this affinity with the light, and you see that with the look of wonder when he sees that lamp. So why does he consume the fireflies, killing them, just to outline the stars that maybe they're the ones that he was outlining earlier on the rock? But I'm really not sure. Perhaps we're going to see an answer or get an answer for this later on. On to Galadriel at sea, and she gets picked up by haggard survivors on a raft. And obviously the most handsome guy speaks riddles, so you know that is Halbrand, and we will be seeing more of him in a bit. But first we need to kill off all these other weirdos who are suspicious of the elf. I didn't think that there'd be quite so much resentment from men towards Eldar, and well, I hope that this isn't reciprocated by the Númenóreans as well, who I assume are the ones that pick them up and rescue them at the end of the episode. Anyway, in the present, she's been swimming in this deep water for ages, and the shots that dip below the surface and then the view from the depths, it's quite chilling. In a world where there are so many horrors found on the land, then of course there's going to be something pretty terrifying in the deep blue sea. Now, when the worm does get shown and Galadriel is thrust back in the water, then yeah, I probably would have sullied the immediate area before torpedoing away. It was fairly scary. I liked it though. Now, Halbrand seems like the guy who's, well, he's quite distrustful and he's jaded by his past experiences. And so he is unsure of the elf when Galadriel demands knowledge of where the orcs were sighted. On the other hand, Galadriel, she worries that he is a dishonorable man for his attitude of, like every man for himself. Now, he doesn't seem like a hero, but neither does she to him. He wouldn't appreciate her offer to help drive away the orcs as altruistic heroism, but more of a self-righteous crusade. And I would tend to agree with him on that. She needs to learn that being angry and getting even for the killer of her brother doesn't make her agreeable to people with the same goal. However, Halbrand appreciates that sorry for your loss sentiment that she has. Like, that does feel pretty real from her. And with this conversation, we see two things fulfilled. Galadriel finds her purpose to be in Middle Earth once more, and Halbrand takes the plunge and chooses to trust in his unusual new companion and saves her from the depths with the help of that ever-present dagger. So, well, we'll see how this unfolds. In the Southlands, we are finally enlightened that something has dug these tunnels beneath the village of Horden that caused the destruction, and now it is headed towards their own village. Remember how in the first episode we were told that mice were apparently digging beneath the floorboards for the past 3 nights? Well, danger has been close for some time now, and well, Theo goes ahead and swings at the floorboards and catches that glimpse of an orc, if it is an orc, and that's a bit of a jump scare moment. Now, immediately after that, you have Arondir, and he is in those very tunnels, and you get those claw and tooth marks shown in the dirt, and then you hear the snuffling, the shuffling, you see the hand groping around the corner, and then you hear another sound closer by. Now, this scene is already pretty horrific if you're claustrophobic, but yeah, when you see the rats running as well, you know something bad is clearly coming up from behind. And I definitely thought something was going to grab him by the leg. And yeah, pretty spicy. But then the attention is so keenly on the air bubbles as they draw closer that you don't even... I mean, the expectation is that something is going to come at him frontally, so that you don't even notice the 2 pairs of arms that come and grab him. Now, yeah, yikes. I did actually quite like this scene, and I suppose there's a bit of a spoiler to this because in the trailers you see that he's been put in chains by his captors, so I'm excited to see how this one turns out and who his captors actually are, because there's like another tense scene where obviously Bronwyn and her son, they kind of cut down a fairly durable orc that comes into their house, but when she goes down to the pub down the street, and she takes that head and pops it on the table. Now, there's a bit of an odd expression on some of the faces. Now, it was kind of like Bronwyn may have just discovered the trap set for her and others in the village, and now this guy's prey was going to escape. I'm not sure, but like some of these folks, they just don't seem right. But then neither does Theo, because, like, well, he obviously doesn't care for the elves like his mum does. And then you have the sword with the mark of Sauron or Morgoth, and it draws his blood and reacts to it, as if maybe he's got some special blend of evil within him. And, well, we shall have to wait and see, because not all is as it seems here, and maybe there's more foes than allies. Finishing up with the Dwarves, I wanted to save the best till last, because I think they were the best in this episode. Now, Elrond was sent to Eregion to help out Celebrimbor with getting a workforce to build his special forge for his new craft aiming to overshadow the Silmarils. I wonder what that might be. This gives a chance for Elrond, Captain of Lindon, to show his quality with his political wit. So he goes after Khazad Dum, and this happens at the same time that Khazad Dum has seen growth, as Celebrimbor put it. But the dwarves seem to have found something that they are going to want to keep secret. And yeah, they will maybe feel that something shady is going on as Elrond shows up with a favor on his mind. And at the end of the episode, you see the prince and King Durin there with that chest and the silver light coming off of it. It looks like potentially this is the discovery of Mithril. Now, I'll skip the rock splitting, but the dwarves, they look like dwarves. Good job. Now, Prince Durin is not welcoming of Elrond, evident of how he cut off his greeting and only called him by the term elf 3 times rather than his name, which he obviously would know. And I wonder if this publicly hostile meeting was so that he wasn't seen dealing with an outsider since the new developments, although we see it's obviously more of a personal matter. Now, we have that reminder of how elves live in their immortal bubble sometimes, and time passes slowly for them, but Durin's outpouring of pent-up emotion, that shows that these were good and close friends from decades ago, but also, like, you do get that sense that, like, reconciliation is coming. Now, on the aged bit, dwarves of the royal line, they tend to live till they're about 250 years old, sometimes a little bit longer. So, you know, Durin's still got plenty of life in him. The chemistry between Disa and Durin is great, and I think these are the best couple of scenes in this episode. We get that warmth of a family home, and their conversation flowed like a real married couple, and it went just as if you were entering a home as a guest where the wife wears the pants in the relationship, and she's just like herding everyone around with that smile, but it's like veiling the threat of aggression. I found it comical, just the way that Durin says, one apology to Disa and you are off. No better getting acquainted, no reminiscing about the past, and absolutely no staying for dinner. And of course, Disa insists on doing all of these, but then as the evening draws on, the walls are broken down, with Disa's meditation. And, you know, Elrond, he asks the right questions to keep her talking because, you know, people are most agreeable when they're talking about themselves. But yeah, this dinner scene really humanizes the characters as they have those relatable mannerisms which are much less ethereal than those of the elves, and is a stark contrast really to the hollow scenes in the epilogue of the previous episode. Oh, and this tree that Durin has cared for, this is a symbol of the coming alliance between elves and dwarves in these coming days of darkness, which is similar to the trees or the tree given by the elves to those of Numenor, which we might be seeing relatively soon. And finally, in this scene, we also get that foreshadowing that we have grown accustomed to in the previous theatres with, as Disa, she speaks of resonating. And what resonating is, that is explained that she speaks to the mountain and finds out what is available. So where the deposits of silver are, perhaps that is true silver, Moria silver, or mithril, and then they go and dig them out. And then she also finds out where the mountain should be left alone. And, well, as the trailer shows, the Balrog in that, I foresee that they're going to end up finding it, and perhaps they're going to even find some orcs down there in the deeps later on. And I'm really looking forward to that, and I hope that they do justice to the personal vision of mine that I have of that series of events. Now, I have covered everything here, but a couple of interesting points. Sigyn Tarak is Khuzdul, which is Dwarvish for Longbeards, the clan of dwarves that inhabit Khazad Dum. Clearly, this rite of rock breaking is something only for them, but it also shows that Elrond was a close friend, because dwarves are incredibly secretive of their own language, and it is like a secret to all outsiders. In that same vein, I had a look on the Elven dictionary for the term Elmendaea, the exclamation of Elrond as he came into the halls of Khazad Dum, and all that is, it's just Quenya for wondrous. We also get a small link to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, as Elrond says to Celebrimbor that he expects ram's horns blaring, tables filled with salted pork and enough malt beer to fill the Anduin. And there's definitely a similarity there, as Gimli was entering Moria, and, of course, both are going to be slightly disappointed. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to immediately start on the episode 3 now. Thank you so much for your support, and I have been reading the comments. I've just been a little bit behind on those because I was slightly overwhelmed by a previous video. But anyway, I'm gone with Gandalf. Good day.